All right, the time has come. We need to talk about Terrifier 2. Everybody, welcome back to Cinema Trip Reviews. I am Wyatt, and today we're going to be talking about Terrifier 2. Before we get into it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to go follow us at Cinema Trip Reviews on Twitter, and also go follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Now, this movie was supposed to be released, I believe, last year or the year before, but man, this was worth the wait. I got to see it on Thursday night, the first day that it released, and man, this blew my socks off. This movie, Terrifier 2, surpasses and improves upon Terrifier 1 in every single way. Now, I did rewatch Terrifier 1 about a day or two before going to see Terrifier 2, and it's okay. Now, Terrifier, this series is definitely not for everybody. It's not. You would have to be very, very big into horror and slashers in general, and very comfortable with blood and guts and gore, because if you're just getting into horror, you're not going to be able to survive through Terrifier or Terrifier 2. Now, the first one is such a grindhouse, just gross, disgusting, mean-spirited movie with some of the craziest kills you've seen in a while, and definitely one of the craziest kills you've seen in a while, where the girl gets, sawed in half straight down through the middle. Some of the gnarliest shit you've ever seen. And just when you think that movie couldn't be topped, they went and did it. They went and did it not just by the kills, but the story and the runtime itself. This movie is almost 2.5 hours long, which is fucking crazy for a slasher movie, especially one of this kind, where you got Art the Clown, who has quickly grown into one of the greatest slashers that we've seen in a long time. It's been a long time since we've had a dominant slasher character that has been able to, cement itself into horror history and establish itself, but it's looking like that Art the Clown is going to be up there with the likes of like Freddy, Jason, Michael, Chucky, Pinhead, some of these, Leatherface, and it's looking like he's going to be sticking around for quite a while, because this is such a great character to have in a horror movie and a slasher franchise, and I can't wait to see how they grow and improve upon this character and these movies going forward, because I'm with the success of this one is doing so well just as opening weekend so far. So I have no doubt in my mind they're going to go out and do a third, maybe a fourth, and continue these on as long as they can and as long as possible. Now, in case you couldn't guess, I loved this movie. This was a great time. This was a great time in the movie theater going to see it. I loved seeing this. There was a lot more people in the theater than I expected. It was great riding the wave of all, the crowd in the theater, laughing along with some of the darkest comedy that you'll see in a movie lately. You got some people laughing at some of this shit. You got a lot of gasps and a lot of gross reactions to some of the stuff they were seeing on the screen. It was great seeing this with an audience that was reacting to the movie. Now, this movie was directed by Damien Leone, or Leone. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Sorry, Damien. But he originally wrote and directed the first one, and of course, like All Hallows Eve, that was the original one with like the first appearance of like Art the Clown and such. But he went on to do the original Terrifier, and after these years, he actually was able to get the money and go and do Terrifier 2. Now, this movie, it's definitely a little different than the first one. You actually have a cohesive story that goes through this whole thing, and I think that helps it for the better, because you actually get some characters you really care about through this movie. What I'm talking about is Sienna, played by Lauren Lavera. Fucking fantastic. She did a great job in this movie. She's one of the best final girls I've seen in a long time, man, and she kicks ass in this movie. And then you also get Jonathan, her little brother, played by Elliot Fulham. He does a pretty bang up job in this movie as well. He's very convincing. And of course, the man of the hour, or 2.5 hours in this case, is David Howard Thornton, who returns to play Art the Clown in this movie. And man, Art the Clown doesn't talk, but he just chews up the scenery in every single scene that he's in, man. He is fucking fantastic. Just the facial movements and just his expressions that he has. It's great. I mean, he's just overall great. Art the Clown is fucking fantastic in this movie. And man, like I mentioned before, you don't think you can top some of the kills from the first one, but man, they do it a couple times in this movie. And specifically the what I mentioned where the girl gets sawed straight down the middle in the first one, there is a kill in this movie that surpasses that one, and maybe one of the most grotesque and crazy fucking kills you have seen in quite a long time or ever. They really go fucking all out with this movie and the practical effects. The practical effects are fantastic in this movie as well. Where I went back and watched like All Hallows Eve and the first Terrifier, you get some, you know, some good kills or good practical effects, but some not so good ones, some shoddy stuff, but that's expected with a low budget. This one, man, they used the full budget and they went all out with it. The movie itself looks a lot cleaner. The directing is a lot tighter. Even though this is a 2.5 hour movie, there really isn't a lot of, you know, it doesn't really slog. If I had to say a part that it really kind of slogs or slows down a little bit, it would be in the back half, like in that last act of the movie. It's very, very drawn out, and I feel like they could have definitely cut some runtime off of this movie to make it closer to just 2 hours. But overall, I feel like it doesn't hurt the movie in any way. It was still an enjoyable time. Man, I was along for the ride the whole time in this movie. The basic kind of plot in this movie is, if you saw Terrifier, Art gets killed at the end. He ends up getting brought back. He's resurrected. And he, of course, goes on once again, another huge killing spree. But the story itself that you get, Sienna's little brother, like I mentioned, Jonathan, he's kind of obsessed with Art the Clown a little bit. He's going out, he's a little obsessing over like the story, because I guess it happened a year ago in this universe. The original Terrifier happened a year ago from this movie. So he's kind of obsessed with, you know, just looking up Art the Clown and the kills and everything. He wants to dress up as Art for Halloween. The mom, man, you feel for her in this movie, because, I mean, the mom, she's just going through it. She's having a terrible couple days or a terrible year, because she's just constantly just bitching at Sienna and her brother Jonathan. The mom's going through it for the most part in this movie. You know, she needs to chill. She needs to chill. They start having some of these visions. Sienna's having some visions of like Art. Jonathan's having visions of him as well. And you're kind of like wondering what the hell's going on with some of these visions. Even Art is having some visions. And that goes into some of the creepiest fucking shit in this movie is this. And if you don't know about it already, it's this little girl. And apparently this little girl is a victim of Art's, and she was like 10 years old. But I guess is one of Art's first victims, I guess. But she's just like Art. She has like the crazy fucked up teeth, the weird crazy eyes. And she is like wearing this dress that looks like Art's, like the black and white attire, but she is so fucking creepy. You get a lot of these close-up shots of her face, and then sometimes she's just kind of lingering in the background, but she's definitely one of the creepiest parts of this movie, is introducing her and this very creepy girl into the story. But she comes into play a bunch of different times, and it's creepy every single fucking time, man. I think it was effective. It was definitely effective. Especially some of the stuff that you get between her and Art, man, it's pretty funny. Which leads, this movie has a kind of a comedic element to it. Some straight up funny stuff, and then there's kind of some stuff that like you kind of feel bad for laughing at, because there's some very dark comedic elements into some of these kills, and just Art having fun while he's doing these kills, where it's like you kind of feel weird and feel bad for laughing because somebody's just brutally getting mutilated while this is happening, and you kind of feel bad for laughing during that, but it's very effective. And I think that over just some of the time that Damien Leone gets to spend with some of these characters throughout all these years, he kind of gets a genuine feeling about how to use them and how to direct them. And man, he just knocks it out of the park with this one for every character too, from Art to Sienna to Jonathan, even to the mom. It's a lot. It's very effective, and there's some jump scares in this movie, some effective jump scares that you don't really get the jump scares in the first one that much, but this one you get a couple good ones that are pretty effective. Mainly in like the garage scene. For anybody that's seen it, the mom comes in and her car is all fucked up. It looks like it was vandalized by like trick-or-treaters. But you get a very cool jump scare in there with Art the Clown as well. And then, like I mentioned, the last act of the movie, it is so drawn out in this. like this abandoned amusement park where Art's just kind of living in this fun house, which is called the Terrifier, which I'm guessing this is where it's saying that the movie derives its name from. Now, going into some spoilers, you may get kind of an explanation for why Art is the way he is and why he can't die in this movie. It doesn't really go into too strong of details, but there is like this huge pit to maybe hell, the basement of this haunted house attraction, where it's like, is this where Art came from? Did he come from hell? Is he a demon sent from hell just to go out and kill and murder sprees on Halloween? It doesn't go out and specifically say that, but it's kind of implied that, you know, Art comes from hell and he's like a demon to go out and just kill people and sacrifice people on Halloween, which was cool, where it doesn't just outright say it. It kind of gives you some of the stuff, and you kind of have to make your own opinions and make your own assessment on what's happening. In the fun house, it is where you pretty much spend the last half hour, 40 minutes of this movie, and it's a little too drawn out. They could have cut it down a little bit, because it's pretty much just Sienna, her and her friend and her brother going in and out of this haunted house, getting, you know, terrorized by Art, and Art's kind of killing people one by one. But it definitely could have been shortened a little bit. But of course, every kill that you get in this movie, it's fucking crazy. You know, it's not like my Hellraiser review where I was a little unimpressed with the kills. They were all kind of the same. They kind of did a lot of cutaways, but man, every single kill you get in this movie, it's up in your face. You're seeing everything. It's fucking grotesque and it's wild. It's exactly what you came for. You're getting your money's worth out of this movie. And there's even like an after credits in this one, which I was already, you know, cuts the credits, and it waits a little while to kick into the after credits. So I started walking out and I heard the after credits come on. I had to walk back in and watch them. But the after credits really leans into where they're going to go and how there's going to be a Terrifier 3 if there is one eventually, which I'm sure there is. This one's doing fantastic in theaters on opening weekend for an indie horror film, an uncut indie horror film nonetheless. So it's great to see all the attention that it's getting from fans and the horror community itself that's going out there and supporting this movie, because it deserves it, man. I mean, through All Hallows Eve to Terrifier to this one, he's constantly one-upping himself. He's raising the stakes in each one. He's growing as a director through each one as well. Because this one is definitely the best one in the series. It really ups the ante from all the other previous entries, from the gore and the kills to the story to the music, which I haven't mentioned. The music in this one is fucking great. It has a lot of 80s synth stuff in it, makes you feel like it's an old 80s kind of a grindhouse movie, has a little bit of a Carpenter feel to it at certain points, but the music in it is fucking fantastic. And this movie, and it's being compared to a lot of other amazing sequels. Like I saw some people comparing it to like Empire Strikes Back, also comparing it to like The Dark Knight as well. I would say this is like the Evil Dead 2 version for Terrifier. Whereas you know what the original Evil Dead is like, and you know how Evil Dead 2 took that and just ramped it up to a fucking 100 and just went balls out with it. That's exactly what you're getting with Terrifier 2. Terrifier 2 is the Evil Dead 2 of the Terrifier universe. And I am pretty confident in saying that. I actually cannot wait to go watch Terrifier 2 again. That's how fun this movie was. And I just cannot wait to see where they go with this series going forward, and Art the Clown. Because at this point, Art the Clown has cemented himself as a slasher icon in the horror community and as just horror films in general. He's at that point where I feel like he is being instantly recognized whenever you see him. One thing about Art in this one, man, he's a showman. And I've talked about this, I believe, in my Halloween Kills review from last year. If you haven't seen that one, go watch that. Where I talk about Michael Myers is kind of a showman with his kills. He likes to set up his victims up to kind of display for people to find them in certain situations. Kind of similar to what you see with Art in this movie. Art likes to be a showman. He's a clown. He likes to entertain people with his victims, and you certainly get that in this one. And man, you get a lot of funny moments that aren't in specific kills as well, like you get in the trailer where he's just kind of standing there, the sunflower glasses on. That scene is fucking hilarious in the movie, sitting there just trying on these different comical glasses on to try to make people laugh. Of course, before he goes and does some horrific shit. First one is a very down and dirty and gritty, mean-spirited type movie, whereas this one, it feels very much just like a movie. It feels like a slasher movie, and it has a story to it. It's not just here's some people just dropped in this one location and they're just going to get one by one just torn up and mutilated by art. There's a progression to this movie, and you actually get a feel for these characters, and you care about these characters. Looking at you, Hellraiser, looking at you. You actually have some likable characters in this movie that you want to follow and you want to care about going forward. And they're kick ass, man. Like, I hope this character, Sienna, comes back in like 3 or 4, because man, she was a fucking great character. I can't wait to see her again. She was definitely one of the more memorable final girls we've seen in a long time. It's going to be really cool to see not just that character, she returns to see what she does going forward, just this actress in general, to see what she does going forward as well, because she did a great fucking job in this movie, and I feel like she has a really good career ahead of her, whether it's in the horror industry or just branching out and doing other things as well. But overall, man, I fucking love this movie. Other than getting into strict spoilers, there's really not much else to say about it other than I highly recommend going out and watching this movie if you're a fan of just slashers or horror in general. I think this one is a little bit easier to get into than that initial Terrifier movie. I feel like just because the original was such a mean-spirited, gross, gritty slasher and low budget, I feel like this one would be a little easier to get into, even though it is a sequel. You kind of need to know what's happening going into this one. But yeah, there's really not much else to say about this movie I haven't already said. It's a fucking great slasher movie. It's definitely one of the best slasher movies I've seen in some time, and I highly recommend this to anybody that's a fan of the slasher genre or horror genre in general. But you're gonna have to have a strong stomach for it. There's a lot of crazy shit in this movie that even I wasn't prepared for. You know, even just watching the original Terrifier, there's going to be some stuff you're not prepared for in this movie. And there's already reports of people throwing up in movie theaters during this movie because of it. Which, man, that tells you something, especially in this day and age where a lot of people are kind of, desensitized to these sorts of things. So, I mean, that tells you right there. If people are throwing up and getting sick during this movie, there's something about it that's special. So yeah, I highly recommend this movie. Go out and watch Terrifier 2. Go out and support the indie horror movies, man. Especially when you start getting some strong movies like this because of it, man. If they didn't have that strong following from the original Terrifier, we probably wouldn't have gotten this one. And since this one's doing so well, we're probably going to get some crazy fucking sequels to this one as well, and I cannot wait for. Props to Damien Leone for making this movie. You did a fucking crazy great job in it, and I cannot wait to see what your twisted mind comes up with next for the sequels or just other horror movies in general. I would love to see what else he can do in the horror genre. But yeah, that's a review for today. Make sure to go like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to go follow us on Twitter at CinemaTripViews, and also go check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We're available pretty much across every podcasting platform. Make sure to leave us a good review there as well, and we'll see everybody next time.